Here's one, and I'm not surprised. I always thought that Kamala Harris was not a good candidate for vice president, but she has a certain billionaire, how could say, rabbi or somebody protecting her, which is probably how she got her office. But that is beside the point. So here's the story. Biden administration officials privately described VP Kamala Harris' office as a shit show, report says. Administration officials are privately calling Kamala Harris' office a shit show, Axios reports. Top Biden officials are circling the wagons around Harris's operation as internal discord boils over. Recent reports in Politico and CNBC detailed unhappiness from Harris staffers, allies, and donors. This is from Business Insider. Top White House officials are publicly circling the wagons around Vice President Kamala Harris's operation while privately describing the chaos as a shit show. Long simmering unhappiness in Harris's office and tensions between her staff and President Joe Biden's boiled over in a recent report from Politico. The outlet spoke with 22 sources, including current and former Harris staffers, who described poor morale and communication breakdowns within the vice president's office. People are thrown under the bus from the very top. There are short fuses, and it's an abusive environment, one source told Politico. It's not a healthy environment, and people often feel mistreated. It's not a place where people feel supported, but a place where people feel treated like shit. Some key aides and staffers were left in the dark when it came to the planning of Harris's trip to the U.S.-Mexico border in El Paso, Texas. Politico reported 2 advanced staffers also recently departed from Harris's office. Politico and CNBC also reported on complaints that Harris's chief of staff, the seasoned Democratic power player Tina Flournoy, tightly guarded access to Harris, including not returning calls and outreach attempts from Harris's longtime political allies, friends, and donors. We are not making rainbows and bunnies all day. What I hear is that people have hard jobs, and I'm like, welcome to the club, Harris chief spokeswoman Simone Sanders told Politico in response, defending Flournoy as having an open-door policy, calling her anonymous critics cowards. In a statement to CNBC, former President Bill Clinton described Flournoy as an extraordinary person with a unique ability to focus on the big picture and adapt to changing conditions. Flournoy was known to closely guard access to Clinton as his chief of staff in his post-presidential life. Some Democrats have said that's a necessary aspect of staffing a figure like a president or vice president. Ron Klain, the White House chief of staff, and Cedric Richmond, a senior advisor, defended Harris and her office's operations to Axios, with Richmond charging that Harris was a victim of a whisper campaign designed to sabotage her. White House Press Secretary Joe Paskey also responded to the reports in a Friday press briefing. She has a challenging job, a hard job, and she has a great supportive team of people around her. But other than that, I'm not going to have any more comments on those reports. The discord in Harris's office described in the reports highlights the sharp divergence between the vice president's office and the nearly leak-proof operation that Biden runs. The reports of dysfunction and of Flournoy's iron grip over Harris's political operation echo some of the breakdowns that befell her 2020 presidential campaign. Axios said it was causing some Democrats to question whether Harris could run a successful presidential campaign in 2024 if Biden, who is 78, decides to retire. Axios reported that some Democrats within and outside the White House were increasingly concerned about Harris's handling of high-profile issues and political tone deafness, including her missteps around immigration. Oh no, our heir apparent is effing up. What are we going to do? It's more than people think. Oh, she's effing up. Maybe she shouldn't be the heir apparent, one Democratic source told Axios. You know what? Me and DC had this discussion about Kamala Harris. And he was right that she got nominated, but I thought she was a terrible presidential candidate. I didn't think she was actually capable of being vice president. My instincts told me that she wasn't ready. Okay, she's always gotten her positions by other means, and normally a good vice president is gonna be at least a good presidential candidate. This is why you pick a a vice president, right? And I didn't think she was prepared. I don't think she was ready. And not to say that she couldn't be capable at some point, but I don't think Kamala Harris is ready for this. I think Kamala Harris for her whole career has been what they call out over her skis. In other words, she's been put in positions where she wasn't really mentally or experientially capable of doing the job. Even as a AG in California, there was always controversy that followed her. I think that she's just the side of a sociopath. I don't think she's as bad as Trump, but I think her and Trump have a lot in common. Okay. There's always things swirling around her. Always things swirling around her. She's always biting off more than she can chew. And I think she's more worried about political success than actually doing the job. And I think that kind of rubs Biden the wrong way, because Biden, for like it or not, Biden is a nuts and bolts guy. And Biden is one of those people that do things behind the scenes more than in front of the scenes. I think Kamala Harris is more about clout than about function. So I'm not surprised that 6 months into their administration that this stuff is kind of swirling around her. And now Biden has to manage the dysfunction in the vice president's office, which normally you never hear anything about the vice president. The vice president is normally a position that's way more quiet. And I think that Biden has given her way too much power. In other words, he's given her way too much to do on her plate. I think she should be a figurehead, but he's trying to groom her to be his heir apparent. In other words, he's 78. In my opinion, I don't think he's going to be running for president at 82. I don't think that was in his plans. I don't think it was in his plans to run at 78. I don't think Joe Biden ever really wanted to be president at this age. The thing is that certain people that run this country wanted Biden in place because he was the only one. He's only one part of the old guard that could actually run this country in the way they wanted him to run it. And basically, Kamala Harris was how can I say it? I think it was a negotiation point between certain groups inside this thing, and basically they put her up as as a contrition to certain other power groups, okay, within the Democratic Party. So she's supposed to be a figurehead. So since she's there and Biden's not going to run again, trying to coach her up. The thing is, I think he's giving her way too much responsibility, especially like on the border. Okay, that's supposed to be her baby because he's trying to shore up the stuff that internationally, like the stuff going on with Europe and stuff going on in the Middle East and on the continent, because right now, like it or not, the United States is trying to push back the gains that China has made under Donald Trump, which is probably going to be a video for another day. I've got a couple of stories that are from like Foreign Affairs that I probably should read or put into the mix about that. But domestically, stuff like that, what's going on the border, since she is from California, and as Attorney General, she's had to deal with immigration. She should have been able to handle the immigration stuff going on the border, because she's actually had to do this in her old job. Even as senator, immigration was one of those issues that California faces. So she should have been able to at least be representative of what's going on the border. But the thing is, it hasn't emerged, because I don't think she's capable. I really don't. I don't think she should have been senator. I don't think she should have run for president. I don't think she should be vice president. That's just me. And so far, she hasn't disappointed. And I think Biden is having regrets accepting her as vice president. I know it was a negotiation behind the scenes to have her. I'm not going to say by whom, but I think so far he's regretting that she is, because she is not capable of doing the job that she's supposed to do. And I think she's not capable of this kind of responsibility. So he may have to pull back on the kind of responsibility that he gave her, because he's given her mostly some presidential tasks to go out and take care of certain things. And so far she hasn't. Maybe she will in the future. Maybe she'll actually correct her missteps, because they've actually put a pretty good team around her. Simone Sanders and Flournoy should be actually a pretty experienced people to to actually put around her, so she shouldn't be falling on her face like this. But we'll have to see. I'm starting to believe that she's going to be a thorn in Biden's side. Old Joe is not the most patient person on the planet, right? He gives you the grandfatherly look, but don't let it fool you. Uncle Joe has a iron fist, okay? I should say Grandpa Joe at this point has an iron fist. He is Cersei's dad. Let's put it that way. So don't get it twisted. Anyway, let me end this. This is BGS out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.